typically, when a person expresses they're reimagining relationships in terms of poly, they get some hate.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to and I'm agreeing with you, but I'm trying to reconcile that with the fact that, of course, all these self-reported studies, about a third of people and married people are stepping out anyway. Is it just they want to do it under the table?
You know what's funny? Marriage is about denial, right? The way it's done now. Monogamy, excuse me, is about denial.
Oh, I was ready to say,
sorry.
like,
But
this
it's because
definitely
most people think that marriage and monogamy are synonymous. So let me.
So you're saying they're not the same thing?
They are not the same thing.
Okay.
They're not the same thing. But people think of monogamy in terms of denial. If you love me, you won't see no other chick is beautiful. You won't you deny, right? Let's take polyamory for instance. That's about honesty and openness and communication. If you're not good, you gotta pick a struggle. Pick pick a pain point, right? Either you're gonna pick denying yourself and that's your struggle in life, or you're gonna pick honesty and that's your struggle in life. If you're not good at one of those things, that's not the area you should belong in. And I think that's where the friction starts and the hate starts. So it brings it to a question. I personally believe, and tell me if you think I'm right or not, that monogamous people are hating on poly people. And I'm asking you, is it from a moral superiority or is it from an insecurity, right? Is it, hey, you guys are having too good of a time, stop it over there? Or is it, oh my God, you guys are just undoing marriage or you're ruining everything? Like, what's the story?
So can we define hate first? Because I feel like when we had a similar conversation, it's like, are such and such hating on such and such? Are we saying they're hating in terms of jealousy, or are we hating in terms of, because when we use hate in our community, it's jealousy, right?
Yeah.
So are we saying, are the mono people just jealous of the poly people?
Yes. Are the mono people,
which is why they're then criticizing
the poly people, or even the idea of them being poly, even going so far as to call them cheaters. Even though they're ethically non-monogamous, their partner knows everything, even going so far as to call them cheaters because maybe they're just jealous.
Okay. I actually think that's an oversimplification of just saying, oh, they're hating on poly relationships, because oftentimes people, if they don't understand something, it may appear as hate, right? Because they don't understand it. It's a lack of knowledge. In some cases, it may be just that, but there are other times when it's just because that's not their preference for their lifestyle. So therefore, since it's not their lifestyle, then they automatically show disdain or dislike for somebody else's lifestyle simply because it's not theirs. And so is that necessarily hating just because they're showing disdain, or is it just that it's not their preference?
If you're showing disdain on something that you don't have any part in and it's not really affecting you, then I think that is jealousy by way of hating, or hating by way of jealousy, however you want to look at it. Because the poly person isn't bothering the married person. They're not pulling their partner off. They're saying, listen, this is something. I've watched people come out as poly or whatever to their monogamous family members, and the family members be shocked and go, oh my God, I can't believe you're just going to let your wife cheat or your husband cheat, or you guys are cheating on each other, or whatever. So they weren't asking this monogamous couple to change anything about their lives. They were saying, this is what I've decided to do. The same way monogamous person says, this is the person I decided to get engaged to, or I want to start seeing this person, or whatever. Same conversation. We're just talking about with multiple people, and the reaction is venomous. Now, you're saying it's not tied back to hate or jealousy.
No, I'm saying that it's not always. I think that was an oversimplification of saying that's what it is. It's either jealousy or hate, when in reality it can be multifaceted. And part of that is lack of understanding. Part of that is it may be a personal preference, and therefore, since it's their preference, then they automatically look at it as disgust. Like, as much as I hate to bring this as an example, so please take this as no offense for either parts of these groups, the LGBTQ community, right? As an example, they can say they get hated on all the time, but it may not be that they're being hated on. It's just that somebody may not believe that's their preference. So therefore, because they don't understand it, they may look at it with disgust in some cases, but it's not necessarily always the hate.
Right. Now, I got to say, I'm glad you used that example, because that sets me up. It is more acceptable. Can you acknowledge that it is more acceptable for me to if I was going to bring my boyfriend or husband to the cookout, that would be more socially acceptable than me bringing my two sister wives to the cookout. Can you acknowledge that, or do you
in
disagree?
the Black community?
Yeah.
Bringing another man to
you said a man
in
bringing
the
a
Black
man
community?
to a cookout.
Hell no.
Yeah, more acceptable than a man bringing two chicks.
What community is
no,
this?
Yeah.
no.
That's
Wait.
Which one is going to get the most
Right, give her some
pushback?
air. Give her some air, right? Because he's saying if the gay uncle, or
Brings
even
his
if
man.
the funny uncle,
Yeah.
come over his
Okay.
new friend Uncle
Okay,
Jimmy
I got
or
you, Sam.
whoever,
Okay, I'm with you now.
right? And now they had the cookout.
Right.
Nobody's going to bat an eye.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
You
You're
see
right.
what he's saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Wait.
Well,
Because
no, I was
think
going
he
to
has a
say
point.
in the black community continues to be one of the most homophobic communities outside of other, we won't say which one, community. Like the black, especially, now I will say that black women may be more accepting of that gay uncle boyfriend, but black men in general are still more, less accepting, we'll put it that way. So to answer your question directly, I don't think that it'll be more accepted because I think it'll just be viewed differently. So if you bring two wives or sister wives, as you called them, they're just like, oh, he got two hoes here.
That's a fact. Yeah, actually, now that you say that, I'm going to step in and say that I agree with you. I think people will be okay with the two wives to be for it might be on some player shit. Now there will be some women hating, and let's be honest, that's what this is really about, right? Let's thank you. Right. Y'all clear the way, please. Please. Can we get to the when Jay is saying who is hating, right? Who is he speaking of? And I think maybe like we're not being very specific here or Pacific here, right? Because I don't think that I've heard men hating on poly relationship. I mean, maybe the more church going guys who are just, some guys may say it's not for them, but I don't necessarily recall if a guy stepped into a room full of men, he's like, yo, man, this is what I think. I like having multiple lanes. I tell them what's up from jump. They go with they. Most guys, I feel like, oh, that's what's up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think most of the hate or criticism is coming from men when we talk about this poly-mono conversation, which brings me to the women, right? Because I do think that's where there could be some hate. I mean, number one, just, estrogen. Number two, I don't know, like it's a certain level of estrogen where it's like dangerously levels of
the threshold is
hate.
Yeah.
That's why when guys do it, we call them bitch ass niggas. You see what I did there? I was like, whoa, estrogen levels.
Yeah. Calm down, man.
No, but in all sincerity, right? I do think that there are some people who are hating because it's something that they cannot see themselves doing. And so for whatever reason, we just can't sustain on what we like and just be cool with that. There's a knee-jerk reaction to have to like hate or criticize or point to affirm. I feel like a lot of mono people do that to affirm their monogamy, right? It's like I have to shout down what you're doing and uplift what I'm doing in order to affirm it and maybe even feel superior to a certain extent, which could be a reverse form of hating to a certain extent because maybe you're the one that thinks that I'm superior to begin with, which is why you have to recalibrate it in such a way. Because to your point, why would there be any beef? Like if we're both living our existence, why does it even bother you for real? But if it does, I can see how through some Inception-like digging, you can see where the hate kind of lies, but you'd have to do that level of digging, right? Because a lot of times it's just judgment, y'all. People look down on other people to feel better about themselves. Point blank period. When a woman sees a poly relationship, she thinks, oh, that bitch settled to be half. Oh, I want a full man. Like that's what so she automatically would use that as a reason to feel better, which is why it comes across the way that it does. I don't necessarily think that it's jealousy. I do think there's a weird thing that we sometimes do to feel better about ourselves. We put other people down or other things down to feel better about ourselves.
If not jealousy, could it be fear? Could it be a fear that for every woman that says, yes, I will move like this, she will create more guys who will want this and expect this, that will then make it harder for this woman who doesn't want this to find the guy she's trying to get?
That's a great point.
Bingo.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that's
about
called
that.
moving the Overton window. I know we're old enough to remember back when women were like, ooh, I'm not putting your pee-pee in my mouth. I'm not doing that. Well, once enough women started doing it. Now I don't do sloppy toppy chick and you by yourself.
Right. She's an odd chick.
You down bad.
Shout out to those trailblazers.
Yeah,
shout out
to them.
You guys are the real heroes.
You know what I mean?
Blow your own horn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Or
those women.
his.
So
preferably his.
they're afraid
You have a horn, please.
Toot your own horn. Yes.
Please.
So he made a really good point. Is the part of the fear on a lot of monogamy only women is if this idea gets traction and it reaches a critical mass, I'm screwed. Now I'm a black and white TV in a room full of 4K Ultra HD TVs.
That's a good analogy.